Back. We'll get to James Harden's big night in a second, but first, a couple plays from last night. College basketball, this is Tennessee's Jordan Bowden with the one-handed dunk right off the inbound pass.
Great inbounds play. Great scripted play on the other side of the bucket. He comes from the other side, the three-point line.
Yep.
They fall asleep.
This is a play that nearly every AAU team in America has a variation of, and they run successfully about 8% of the time.
Hawks
the alley-oop
and
off the inbounds. Oh, my.
Justin Anderson drives baseline, puts Bobby Portis on a poster.
Oh, get up, Justin Anderson. Big, little pump fake. Couple dribble, left-handed yam all over Bobby Portis. Bobby, you're there for your rim protection. Come on now, man. I appreciate the contest. Got to do a little better than that, though. Justin Anderson, not exactly known as a high flyer. Got to do better, Bobby.
Finally, Jazz Nuggets. Donovan Mitchell spins, hits Will Barton with a Euro step before laying it in. Boom, boom.
Might not look like it. They just like his feet. They large Euro steps. Donovan Mitchell got up to a slow start in his sophomore season, starting to catch fire. His team's playing a lot better, too, the last month.
He also had a monster block in this game. I think the Utah's won 8 of 10, got themselves firmly back in the playoffs in the Western Conference.
He's got some big feet, man. I saw him play. I couldn't even ask him for issues. I knew they weren't going to fit.
Moving on to the big story here in New York City last night, James Harden. We're running out of ways to describe the historic run that he's been on. It continued last night as the Rockets visited the Knicks. Harden poured in a career-high 61 points. He had 15 boards in Houston's win at the Garden. It was Harden's 5th game with at least 50 this season, and the first time a player has had 60 points and 15 boards since Shaq back in 2000. And by the way, to 61 points, that tied Kobe for the most ever scored by a visitor at Madison Square Garden. Here is James Harden.
This is one of the historical buildings in a sport that we have. Obviously, the fans are one of the best that we have in this league, and so it's pretty cool to come out here and just put on a show for them.
At this point in the season, what do you need to work on as a team to move up?
We have to get healthy. That's the most important thing. We get healthy and we'll move forward from there. But obviously, Clint is out a little bit longer, but Chris will be back very soon. And as long as we can get healthy and catch a rhythm, everything else will be great.
All right, but even if they don't get healthy, they seem to be doing just fine with number 13 out there. Nick, how impressive has not only Harden's night last night, but this recent run that he's been on?
I think the most impressive thing about it is it's no longer surprising. See, I know you watched the game, but if you hadn't watched the game and you got here this morning and you said to me, what happened in the Knicks game last night? And I said, pick one. Harden scored 21 or Harden scored 61. What's more likely?
Oh, definitely the 60.
The 60, like, it is not unexpected.
I know.
He's, in his last 5 games, he has scored 261 points. That's 52 a game. He has made 76 field goals in that span. 0 have been assisted. Now, we talked about this on his last big night when 0 were assisted. And people, I think, misconstrued that to mean he's not getting other people involved. No, he has 21 assists in this stretch. It means he is scoring in the hardest way possible. No back cuts that he gets the ball and gets an easy layup. For context, see, Clay's 44-point night the other night, a couple days ago, all of his baskets were assisted. So James is doing this as an offense unto himself. In this 5-game stretch, the Rockets have made 192 baskets. He has scored or assisted on 97 of them. His teammates have done 95. Just real quick, if we can just show the audience in these 5 games, it's been 20-plus games, but these 5 games, what he's done compared to what his teammates have done. He has scored 261 points. His teammates are at 338. He's done it in less than 200 minutes. They've had more than 1,000. Wow. This is the closest thing I've come in my lifetime see to what it must have been like to watch Wilt, where it was an offense unto himself for weeks on end, where he has to do everything on one end of the court for his team to have a chance.
Yeah, and we haven't seen this type of workload put on a star player in a long, long time. I would say LeBron early in his career, he had that. but this is more based on injury. He's doing this out of necessity for the team to be able to win. So part of it you can look at and be like, man, he's in a window where he's playing some of the best basketball the NBA's ever seen. And it's also out of need, out of desperation for them in the West, for them to be able to stay in contention, to have one of those top 4 seeds. It's necessary. He's got 2 other starters that are out and been out for an extended period of time. This is their style that they're going to run. And to me, the thing that's more impressive about him being able to score is just his overall endurance and how Harden has never been an elite athlete as far as body, jumping, playing above the rim, but his overall endurance and being able to dribble the basketball, stay focused, and to be able to continue to score night after night after night, that to me is very impressive. The Garden is an impressive place to play. We haven't seen too many big nights in the Garden because the Knicks haven't been good. So I know the Garden's a legendary place. The Knicks right now are not playing in a position where they're adding to that legacy. So I don't necessarily want to be like, oh, man, it's one of the greatest games ever in the Garden. Everyone's coming to the Garden doing something. Harden hadn't had a Garden moment. 36 points was his high before. He really wanted to have one. Said that yesterday, delivered last night.
And they needed it, by the way. If people didn't watch, it was only a 4-point win. It was a steal and a Harden dunk that actually cemented the win after it looked like the Rockets were going to blow it late. There was a bizarre inbounds play between Eric Gordon and P.J. Tucker, and so they needed every last drop out of Harden last night.
How much of the game plan, how much of what we're seeing, how much of the production changes when Chris Paul and Clint Capella, or Chris Paul or Clint Capella come back?
Well, this streak started with Clint Capella out there. Like, Clint Capella hasn't been out for the 22 games where he's averaging 43 points a night to go along with 8 assists. Clint Capella was there for the majority of that. Now, it will change, hopefully, for the Rockets considerably when Chris Paul's out there. Then, all of a sudden, maybe some of Harden's baskets will be assisted. But they have... I think it's important to note 2 things. One is, I know this is a year of offensive explosion. We've talked about this, right? And so you have to look at numbers within that context. But no one else in the league is averaging 30 a night. He's averaging 36 a night. He's 7 points higher than the #2 scorer in basketball. And during this offensive explosion by him, which is now at 22 games, no team in the league has more wins. We thought when Chris Paul went down, or at least I did, that they'd look a lot like what they looked like last year when Chris Paul went down, which is struggling to win any games. When they get him back, which will be sooner than Capella, then you start looking at them, oh, are they the only team that is, forget a threat to the Warriors, are they the 2nd best team in the Western Conference, which is where the hierarchy could fall this season?
Yeah, I only think Golden State is only a threat to themselves. I don't believe Houston will be a threat. How they're going to play basketball has to change drastically. Last night they had 2 guys that had more than 8 shots. You cannot beat the Warriors or the top teams in the NBA. Say the Warriors weren't there. I don't think Houston would be a championship team because you need more variance in being able to score the basketball. They're going to have more people in the playoffs. When you get in the 7-game series, they're going to make sure that he's not able to dribble the basketball. So they're going to trap him. So they're going to have to play basketball different when Chris Paul comes back, when Capella comes back, when they get into the playoffs.
We had Daryl Morey, the general manager of the Houston Rockets, on the show yesterday, and we asked him about the training, the preparedness, and the preparation, and the athleticism that goes into having nights like this, and how sustainable that is. Is there fear at all that he doing all this now, he may not be available this way in the playoffs?
Listen, the Rockets, as Daryl talked about, track all of this, and they try to make sure via the way they practice or a lack thereof that he is well equipped to handle it at the end of the year. But sometimes we talk about these things as if they have a better option. They have to win games. They can't blow games to the Knicks. They needed every last one of those 60 last night in order. It doesn't matter how fresh Harden is if the Rockets are the 8 seed, right, and they get the Warriors in the 1st round. And so they are doing what is necessary due to the injuries. But James Harden is making me question what is possible for a wing scorer in today's NBA. I didn't think it was possible for a guy to average 43 a night for 2 months. And that's what, for a month and a half, going on 2 months. Like, that is what he's doing. Last night he had 20 3-point attempts to go along with 20 free throw attempts. He keeps putting up box scores that if you type them into Basketball Reference, they're one of one in all of NBA history. And so, yeah, the fatigue is an issue. I know that's been one of your big concerns.
I mean, fatigue is going to be an issue. It has been an issue before when he didn't have the type of workload that they have now. Now, Durham, I really appreciate his opinion. But everybody's monitoring their workload, but no one's playing like him. No one's going to get 61 points with no assist on there. So I understand when you work out, there's a certain amount of information that goes in the computer. They spit out this data. But there's also a human aspect. And there's an amount of energy that you burn in being, I don't have any help. I must do this. Harden had 36 at halftime. So some of the stuff you can monitor, the other stuff you can't monitor. To me, this is about James Harden getting his second MVP. I don't believe they have one chance at winning an NBA championship against the Warriors. To me, it's about his own individual ability, how he's grown his game, and out of desperation, through injury, he put together this remarkable season.
And see, to your point, if he does get his second MVP, you're going to be able to, on an individual level, not the championship level, stack these 5 years that he's put together up against some of the all-timers. It'd be 2 MVPs, 2 second places, both of which some people made an argument he should have won that year, and only one, quote, down year in the mix. It has been now a half-decade of offensive dominance by James Harden.
And James Harden even said this week he wants to be in the same conversation one day with Wilt and Michael and Kobe, and he's definitely working himself into that conversation. Coming up, could Antonio Brown actually return to the Steelers? That's next on First Things First.